Hello and welcome to CadenCenter. It's time for another This Week in Sports, and today it's time for my yearly Lakers season review slash recap. It's been about a week now since the Lakers were swept and eliminated in the Western Conference Finals by the Denver Nuggets, and I think it's been enough time to digest what happened, take note of the season that just took place, and now prepared to share my thoughts on how the season went, what we should be looking forward to in the offseason, and just the state of the Lakers currently. But to get to all that, we have to start from the beginning with this season. The Lakers coming back in with the big three of Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook. And my expectations personally weren't all that high. I remember in my preseason prediction video, I think I had them as the 7th seed and then becoming the 8th seed after the play-in. But I certainly did not expect the 2-10 start that we saw. They lost their first 5 games of the season, finally got a win against, ironically, the Nuggets, and then needed a Matt Ryan buzzer-beating 3 to force overtime, beat the Pelicans, going 2-5. We saw another 5-game losing streak, and all hope was looking lost. They had a 0.3% chance to make the playoffs, and from there, it was really just the next 20 games kind of clumped into a stretch where they were still fighting to somewhat be in playing position, but they certainly weren't exceeding it all. And as the season went on and we got towards February and the trade deadline, we knew something would happen. And the trade deadline arrived, and we saw the Lakers finally be able to get rid of Russell Westbrook and his contract and the way he'd been hurting the team. And they added, along with giving up some other minimal role players that weren't doing much, they added D'Angelo Russell, who came back, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, Rui Hachimura, Mo Bamba, and that team gelled, and the Lakers found themselves having the best record in the league from the point that those trades were made to the end of the season. But even then, because of the struggles at the start, that only got them the 7th seed, and there were still a lot of doubts about what they would be able to do. They faced the Timberwolves in the playing game, and they needed a Dennis Schroeder clutch 3, and then overtime again to win, and that set up their matchup with the Grizzlies. Now, going into the Grizzlies series, I think Laker fans were finally starting to feel pretty confident. The Grizzlies weren't an overly experienced team. They had the makeup of a team that can struggle in the playoffs because they can't shoot threes and they can't shoot free throws. And ultimately, Dillon Brooks trash-talking LeBron got him going. But really, it was the story of the role players. And Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura specifically just played out of their minds. Rui Hachimura was having stretches where he was hitting 7-8 shots in a row, scoring from all 3 levels. Austin Reeves proved he was a legitimate starter and scorer, not to mention his effort on the defensive end. So we really started to see the Lakers become a team that was like, okay, maybe they have enough depth that they can do this. Anthony Davis was still fluctuating good game, bad game, but you felt confident going in, beating the Grizzlies in 6, and then facing the Warriors. And the storyline for this series then and still now, as we look back at it, was LeBron versus Curry. But to be honest, even I knew myself going in, LeBron wasn't going to be that big of he's dropping 40 and Steph's dropping 40 just because of what LeBron was going through with his injury and stuff. So we once again saw role guys step up. We saw D'Angelo Russell start to get going. He had a few clutch threes. I believe it was in game 3 or 4. And then in game 1, he stopped the Warriors' 12-0 run in the 4th to seal that win. And the Lakers were able to end the Warriors' dynasty and able to take down Steph Curry. Klay Thompson struggled. And it was nice because you feel like, okay, LeBron got his revenge. He beat the Warriors when it was on even terms. The Warriors didn't have Kevin Durant and this super team. And now you're 4 wins away from the finals and 4 wins away from the finals, 8 games away from a championship. But then they ran into the Nuggets. And the thing about the Nuggets was in game 1, we saw the Lakers go down 20 or 30, and you thought, oh man, okay, this team is tired. The elevation in Denver is killing them. But then in that second half, they started to come back. AD got up to 40 points, but ultimately they fell short by just a couple shots. But you think, okay, all right, we made the adjustments. They put Rui Hachimura on Nikola Jokic so AD could help off Aaron Gordon. I talked about that earlier when I talked about the series after the first 2 games. And you thought it would work. And then you have Mike Malone, the head coach of the Nuggets, saying in the press conference, do people really think this series is over because they made one little adjustment? And he was right. The Lakers failed to prove him wrong, like they'd been proving doubters wrong earlier. As Jamal Murray went off in game 2, beat the bubble allegations, and then in game 3, Jamal continued to go nuclear in the first half. And then we saw the Lakers start to come back. Jokic was in foul trouble, but they just couldn't find a way to win. And then game 4, which I was lucky enough to attend in person, had a great time despite the loss. We saw LeBron have one of his just other level, GOAT level performances, dropping 40 points, I believe like 31 in the first half. But ultimately, they blew a 15-point lead and lost on the final possession. And that is where their season ended, with the Nuggets going to the finals and the Lakers going from this on top of the world to being swept. Like when you look back and you're going to see, oh, the Lakers got swept, you're going to think they just had no chance. But really going into this series, I believe the plus minus total from all the games was only like plus like under 20 for Denver. I think it might have been 16. So to lose by like a total of 20 points and still get swept, that's one of the most, I'm not going to say competitive sweeps ever, but they didn't get embarrassed. But they did lose, so something had to go wrong. So what did go wrong? Well, first thing, AD's inconsistency, and especially in game 4, his like motor, his want to win was just gone. I mean, this guy was getting shoved around on drives, on box outs. I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the world more than me that wants to see Anthony Davis succeed. When Anthony Davis came out, I was like, all right, I'm ready to be an Anthony Davis over a LeBron guy. But again and again, he just fails to become the number one option. And every year, and we're going to say it this year too, we're going to be like, okay, LeBron's going to play make, AD's finally going to be the number one option. But he just fails to do it. I don't know what it is. If it's a mental block, I don't think he has a like skill block. The dude is just insane on both ends. But it's just sad to see him struggle. And if he would have showed up more in game 4, the Lakers would have won that game and their season would have stayed alive. As for another starter, we saw struggle. D'Angelo Russell, like I said, he did do well in the Warriors series, hitting some timely shots, but man, we were warned by Timberwolves fans that playoff D'Lo could be rough, and he was, especially in the Nuggets series. I believe the Lakers were like undefeated when he scored 20 plus points, but when he didn't, and his pick and roll game with Anthony Davis wasn't working because he was missing his wide open middies and his catch and shoot 3-pointers, really saw the Lakers offense struggle and rely more and more on LeBron James, which we know is tough to do given his injury. So D'Lo is certainly a question of whether to resign or not. I'll get into more detail with that later. But his inability to be the scorer that we know he can be really killed the Lakers. And something we saw, I definitely am a positive. I view Darvin Ham's coaching this season as a whole as a positive, but game 1 against the Nuggets, starting that 3-guard lineup of Schroeder, D'Lo, and Reeves, I mean, you just can't do that because the Nuggets small forward, Michael Porter Jr., is 6'10". So you're putting 6'5" Austin Reeves or 6'3", 6'4" D'Angelo Russell on him. And we saw in game 1, Michael Porter Jr. would catch the ball. We know he does not like to pass. He averaged a single assist per game this season. He was just shooting over him. I think if they hadn't done that, they maybe could have stole game 1 and completely altered how the series went. But I think that was Darvin's like big blunder, if you will. But other than that, I think he did well coaching this year. But that 3-guard lineup, I mean, you can't run those in the modern day NBA if the team's back line is 6'10", 6'8", and Aaron Gordon, obviously Nikola Jokic at 7 feet. And as for LeBron, injury, I know. But man, did he fall in love with the 3-ball games 1 through 3. I mean, every single time the Lakers started to get the rhythm where they were close, he would try to make that final Clips 3 that would get them tied or get them in the lead, and he'd just miss. And when in game 4, we saw him finally get aggressive. And again, I understand you can't be aggressive all the time because of that ankle. It started to work. But if the Lakers would have just got him the ball in the post more instead of getting to the top of the perimeter so he can't even think about shooting a 3, it would have helped. If he could try to be more of a facilitator from that post position, it would have helped. But man, LeBron James just can't be chucking 7-8 threes a game and be expecting to win because he really hasn't seen a rhythm with his 3-point shot for about a season or 2 now since that injury. So that's something you don't want to see LeBron doing. Just a few more players. Jared Vanderbilt, love his defense, love his effort. He can't be on the floor because he can't shoot 3s, and his finishing for a guy that's going to sit on the block the whole time is below average. They got away with it in the Grizzlies series. He actually hit a couple 3s in the Grizzlies series. But as it went on, you realize, okay, those like 2 or 3 3s he hit were lucky. And ultimately, yes, he can get you stops, but his defense is nullified by the fact that you're playing 5-on-4 on offense when he's on the floor. But at the end of the day, in terms of the Nuggets series, you did run into the best player in the world right now in Nikola Jokic. I think there's no doubt in my mind he's the best player in the world, as well as Jamal Murray and all them. Um, and you probably lost to the eventual champions. No disrespect to the Heat or Celtics who play Game 7 tomorrow, but I think both teams have looked shaky, and I think the Nuggets are going to beat either team in 5 or 6. They just look that good, and they look like the team of destiny right now, if you will, to get Denver's first ever ring. So congratulations to them. And I don't want to be all negative here, so I'm going to move to some of the positives we saw this season. The aforementioned Austin Reeves. This guy, we need to pay him, match the offer sheet, do whatever you got to do. This guy has to come back. Look, if we can't get Kyrie or whatever other rumored guys, then put Austin Reeves at point guard and just see what he can do. Because I think Austin Reeves, a full-time point guard, can work. He can score. His passing has really improved, and his decision-making. I remember at the start of the season, his rookie year, when he got the ball in fast breaks, I was a little shaky because I was like, this dude's either going to do some crazy play that's going on SportsCenter, he's going to throw the ball out of bounds. But now he's consistently making the right play, still adding that flash. Everybody loves him. So it was great to see him play well. Rui Hachimura also broke out. Hopefully we can get him back. He's another guy who's restricted. We can match the offer, get him back. He moves. I've said this a lot. He really reminds me of, I'm not saying he's nearly as good as Kawhi Leonard, but he moves like Kawhi Leonard in the mid-range in the post in terms of how he gets to his spots and releases the shot. I just really like him. I know Phil Handy, the Lakers assistant coach, who obviously was with the Raptors and Kawhi when they won the championship, said he also reminds him of Kawhi a lot. So that's a great guy to have. Lonnie Walker, fourth quarter, Golden State. That was insane. He showed flashes of the guy. It's pretty good. His story is just a really good one. Not sure how he'll fit coming back here. I'm sure that fourth quarter and him fitting into the rotation of the playoffs upped his value in the market, so we'll have to see. But he did play well this season, especially at the start of the season before all the trades were made. He helped keep the Lakers in the hunt. And ultimately, another positive is the Lakers made the Western Conference Finals after, like I said, a 0.03% chance to make the playoffs. No one expected them to make it this far, especially at that point. 7 seed, beating the Grizzlies, ending the Warriors dynasty. You lost to the Nuggets, but hey, you're one of the final 4 teams. You can't really complain too much. I know us Laker fans are spoiled. Every year it's championship or bust. But this team really did manage to make the season somewhat special given the circumstances we started with. And lastly, before I go, just some of the big questions that we have going into the offseason. Who will we resign? Who will we look to try to get? The first one, like I said, Reeves and Rui match their offer sheets in free agency. Yeah, you got to. Rob Pelinka needs to do that. We cannot let this young core go. And I feel like we learned our lesson about letting our young core go when we traded for Russell Westbrook. And then you have to talk about the big name. He's rumored to every LeBron team ever since they broke up. Kyrie Irving. Will he come? Will he not? The Mavericks are like, hey, we're not going to help you in a sign and trade. We're not doing a D'Angelo Russell and Mo Bamba sign and trade for Kyrie. And I get that. Kyrie will need to take a pay cut if he's going to come straight to the Lakers with no sign and trade. I don't really see that happening. He seems like a guy who will just want the max. I don't think he cares too much about winning at this point, but I definitely think he wants to play with LeBron. So we'll have to see. And hopefully if he does come, we don't see the usual drama. Maybe LeBron can limit that. As for another point guard that we're seeing rumored, Trae Young. I haven't really seen like too many mock trade packages made up to get him. But personally, I don't want him because I think Trae Young will really, of all the guys, hurt Austin Reeves because Trae Young is a shot chucker. He was not efficient this year. He'll take away looks for Reeves. I don't want that. I want to avoid Trae Young at all costs. I'd rather just have Reeves, Rui, and Walker back than sacrificing it all for Trae Young. Which does go into another thing that I've seen some people saying that we should go to free agency is moving Austin Reeves to a full-time point guard position and getting a better center to help out AD and make up for what AD lacks in terms of toughness and all that. And I like that idea. I'm not really sure who they could trade for or try to get in free agency. I know Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, there's rumors, but I mean, there's rumors for everybody. I believe the biggest name, if you will, besides that would be like Nikola Vucevic, but Vucevic is as soft as Anthony Davis, to be honest. That would not be a good pairing. So we'll see if they can get another anchor next to AD. And I think if we can't get Kyrie or Trae, it's a good idea because Austin Reeves at PG, I feel like will work. And of course, then there's role players to look for as well. Will the Lakers go back and get Lonnie Walker? I already said him. Dennis Schroeder. I don't really know. If that man asks for more money than he deserves again, then I don't think we should bring him back. Mo Bamba has a team option. His contract's non-guaranteed. I mean, if we're not going to play him, don't bring him back. If we are, then bring him back, because I like the idea of a big who can stretch the floor, and like he can be the center that sometimes fill the holes for what AD can provide. Troy Brown Jr., another guy who, I mean, if he wants to come back on a minimum, I think the Lakers should get him back. And then there's Tristan Thompson, who said he was willing to be back. And hey, if you got the extra 13th, 14th roster spot, you know what? Go ahead. He can be a part-time coach again, and maybe he can be serviceable backup minutes, because injuries are inevitable. But all of this is easier said than done, because this free agent class is not that deep. There's not too much star power outside of Kyrie Irving and James Harden. So trades will probably be needed. Or, of course, you can hope that Max Christie is ready to jump into a rotational spot. I think he can develop into a good 3-and-D player. They also had on a 2-way contract last year Cole Swider and Scottie Pippen Jr. Swider, good shooter, defense, Pippen Jr., also a little bit of wild card. I wouldn't expect that. But Christie specifically, I would like to see in the 9-man rotation in the regular season next year. And then, of course, there's always rumors around AD and LeBron. AD trade rumors. Do we trade him? We're not going to trade him. I can't wait to see all the made-up trades there are for superstars that will never happen. And then LeBron, he scared us all after the game, saying, I don't know, I have to consider my future. I might retire. And then a couple days later, it was like, no, he's going to come back. But what was weird was the wording of the report given out by, I think it was ESPN, was that he would come back to fulfill his contract. Fulfill your contract can mean anything. Fulfill your contract means you're going to show up. We know LeBron will need surgery on that injury he has. And there's something in the back of my head that's saying he might pull if you watch Last Dance, Scottie Pippen, remember Scottie Pippen waited until the season started instead of getting surgery in the offseason. He might just wait until training camp so he can enjoy his summer, enjoy his time with his kids and family, and just have his surgery and miss the first couple months of the season. I would not be surprised that happens. I hope it doesn't, but the wording of him coming back was really not motivating, to say the least. But at least he will be back, and if he retired, it'd be a lot worse. So that is the Lakers season summed up. It was a roller coaster of a ride. There were points we thought they were going to never make the playoffs, never make the play-in, maybe even win the championship, and it ended in the Western Conference Finals. But overall, I think it was a positive season given the circumstances, and we'll see what happens this summer, and we'll see what happens next season. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.